So I fucked up. My USB stick died and I lost footage that I captured for this game. I already went and bought another one, but in a Pinnacle, I had to recapture footage and I used off screen capture with my camera on a glossy OLED screen. So you get this nice, beautiful glare and it just doesn't look that great. So I would appreciate it if everyone could just ignore my stupidity and try to enjoy the video talking about a game that quite honestly surprised me. I had a wonderful time with this one. So apologies and let's get on with it. Longtime viewers know that I haven't ever really enjoyed the Dead Rising franchise. I first got into this series with Dead Rising 2. In fact, I reviewed the game on this channel way back when it was new. And I even played Dead Rising 3 years after the launch of the Xbox One, and I had to kind of force myself to complete the game. Yet, after playing through those later iterations, I never really found myself enjoying any of those games. I sort of misunderstood why people were fans. It just seemed like you were running around and doing nothing, and the only thing that people found fun with was the experimentation gameplay loop. But narratively, I don't recall Dead Rising ever being anything worthwhile, ever having a story that people really gave a shit about. But if I do remember correctly, Dead Rising 3 did try to create something that was a bit more serious on a tonal level. So I picked up the original Dead Rising when I was game collecting, not really knowing why I was doing so, because it was next up on my playlist of games, and I just decided to give it a shot reluctantly. And what the hell happened here? This game is good. It's actually better than good. It's awesome. I'm not sure if it's just age that has made this game great, or maybe the later iterations in the series also followed suit here, but I was hooked on this game for a lot longer than I thought I'd be. I couldn't believe how much fun I was having. I actually had to do a double take. I had to check the disc in my console that it was the right game because it was so far and above beyond anything I'd ever experienced previously with this franchise, and I doubted that what I was feeling was even real. So, what makes the original Dead Rising so much fun? Why do I like it so much? Well, for one, it's the premise. You play as honorable journalist Frank West, who gets this sort of inside scoop that something is going down in Colorado. You charter a helicopter and make your way over to the state, and next thing you know, you start photographing far from above. At first glance, what looks like a riot and people being killed. While this is ongoing, the military has closed all exits to and from the city, and the government is keeping the situation hush hush from the public. So you end up dropping onto the rooftop of the local mall, and the premise is you have 72 hours before the helicopter picks you back up or you're left for dead. And that's it. For the next 72 hours of in-game calculated time, let's not be ridiculous, it doesn't take 72 hours to complete this game, but you have unprecedented freedom to do whatever you want, whenever and however you'd like. The only rule is, if you want to make it out of here alive, be on the helipad in 3 days' time. What a cool fucking concept. Like, seriously, this is like the start of a really engaging movie, and the game sort of plays out like that. Upon starting the game, I initially thought that I was going to hate Frank West as a character. Having played the later iterations in the series, I half expected a person who's, kind of silly and plays off everything as a joke. But again, I was surprised here. Frank actually grew on me while playing the game, and he's a straight shooter journalist who kind of feels a strong duty to deliver accurate stories and to make sure people's voices are heard. Now, it wouldn't be Dead Rising without the rest of an eccentric cast as well. So as Frank, you enter this mall, which is like the last bastion of humanity, and zombies have surrounded the mall. And due to a completely incompetent old lady, I'm not even joking, she causes the zombies to later invade the entire compound. You are then, well, you're expected to at least, find any survivors in the mall and bring them to safety. Frank's ulterior motive here is that by helping out the survivors, he can get additional information, like a scoop on what's really going on around here. Now, beneath all this other stuff is a much more sinister plot, And this is where the game starts to really feel like classic Capcom. Long story short, government agencies are involved. There's a terrorist plot, cartels, infectious flying insects which carry this disease. They're all connected to the main reason of why this city is in chaos. And it all goes a bit towards the cliche, but again, you sit back, you relax, you enjoy a story that doesn't take itself too seriously, and just have some fun along the way. Alongside the survivors you recruit, you will also be meeting these crazy villains. These people range anywhere from being absolutely insane to religious zealots and even nut-crazed psychopaths. I enjoyed all of the villains here, and you get this fun intro cutscene to all of them, and the game will tell you where these people are located, so you are really given agency to actually seek them out and to bring them to justice. And you also have an incentive to save the people that they're terrorizing as well. What's more interesting here is that you could, in theory, skip boss battles entirely just by simply ignoring the locations at specific times. There are people in this game that I could have fought and battled against, and people I could have saved, but I missed my chance because I was preoccupied with other things and time just ran out. This is where the game gets super interesting because the time mechanic, it's ingenious. It never stops. You have opportunities and scoops, and the game will actually give you specific story quests that you could just outright ignore. And the game just continues. It adapts to whatever decision you make. It's a phenomenal concept, and it's realized so effectively in this game. It adds tension where it needs to. It requires management, and for me at least, it never really felt like it got too in the way for me enjoying the game. I didn't feel ever forced to do anything I didn't want to. The game will give you ample time in between certain story segments to kind of go out and mess around, or to simply focus on saving people or taking down baddies. But the real unique identifier with this game is the fact that there are no checkpoints. I'm not even kidding here. You could play this game for 10 hours, and if you do not manually save and you die, you start right at the beginning of the fucking game. The entire 10 hours lost forever. Now, I initially was shocked, and that shock grew to frustration as I was learning the mechanics and had died during some combat encounters and was forced to replay 5, 10, 20 minutes of gameplay to return back to where I was. But I stuck with it, and then I finally started seeing the light. This system is not a hindrance, in fact. It's to pressure you to always think in a more strategic sense. You can save at any rest stop, so like at a bathroom or a couch, and these locations are displayed on your map in vivid detail, and at any point in the game you can do this. So it's a matter of learning to adapt to this single rule and save frequently before and after events. The game also utilizes this in the form of character upgrades that reflect back based on how you play the game. So as you progress through it, you'll garner more health, you'll start to move faster, you'll learn special moves to help maneuver your way through crowds of zombies or special takedowns for boss fights. It's this sense of background progression where the character builds up as you play the game your way, making it in turn a much more rewarding system to take risks, and you gain more confidence as well in taking these risks. You're never asked to upgrade anything, it just sort of happens, and you'll notice things start to become easier the longer you play the game. While playing Dead Rising, I learned to adore this system, and I think that it separates this title from the rest as being a bit more calculated than its competitors. Now it's time to take a look at the box art for the original Dead Rising. I really like the front cover of this one. This is only on Xbox 360 console exclusive, which it remained for at the time. Now, on the bottom left there, you see a little tag saying that this game has nothing to do with George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, so I think that's pretty interesting if they were a bit concerned there. It's a nice look at the spine, and then as we turn over to the back, it says chop till you drop, and we got a bunch of screenshots, with tons of zombies showing you all the things you can do, all the mayhem. Let's take a look inside here. We got a nice clean game disc, the original version. So great for preservation. The 360 was able to read this perfectly fine. And we got a really thick manual here too. It is in black and white, so not full color, but you just have a ton of detail just about all the mechanics of the game. It goes into background detail about the characters, the different, things like that. tools, weapons. There's a whole map and of the layout of the mall that they put in here. So anything you want to find out with the manual, I mean, it's in there. So it's a great manual with lots of detail, and just has everything that you want to find out. And a cool ad for Lost Planet, which I already reviewed on the channel previously. So pretty cool look at the Dead Rising box art. It's a nice cover art for this one. Now, it's time to discuss the graphics very quickly. The original Dead Rising is not backwards compatible on the new Xbox Series systems. Now, Capcom has remastered this game on the PS4 and Xbox One, so those are the versions you want to pick up if you're looking for a much more polished experience. But this footage we're watching right now is actually captured on native Xbox 360 hardware. It's the original game. I think it looks great. I love the way this game looks. Like Just Cause, which I just reviewed a bit ago, there's a lot of great detail here. Playing this on original hardware and comparing it to other games released during its time shows that Dead Rising is a downright visually impressive game. They somehow managed to leverage the CPU power in the Xbox 360 to get hundreds of zombies on screen. And I'm not even exaggerating here. There's literally hundreds of zombies on screen, and they're all physicalized with real interaction, meaning you can actually bump into them, and as you force your way through a crowd of zombies, it's such a joy to see them trip and fall into each other, causing this sort of domino effect on the remaining bystanders. I was shocked to see this much accomplished during the first year releases on the 360, and all this while providing ample detail in the environments as well. The mall itself is so realistically designed, it's astounding. Every room, storefront, cafeteria, it all feels equally as well realized, and the texture detail remains super impressive throughout. You also have this gorgeous per object motion blur. Character models as well are actually pretty respectable and aged even well today. You can quite literally see the nuance in performances, and the voice acting remains great throughout. It's a well polished game that just astounds you with next gen detail and immersive environments, all the while giving you a playground that is fun to explore and interactable and dense as well. Musically, we have a great selection of fun tunes. Each boss sort of has its own theme, and you have this plethora of genres to explore. Everything from rock, electronica, more cinematic tones, they're all here, and the sound design is pretty good and equally impresses along with its graphics. Now, the gameplay of the original Dead Rising is where things do start to show its age. There's no real lock-on with this game, so combat encounters in the beginning especially grew frustrating. Similar to like the older Resident Evil titles, you have to manually aim and you can't move while doing so. So when enemies are firing back at you with guns and they manage to hit you, it's annoying because you have to stop, aim, then fire, and do so with a haste, because the moment you get hit, you get knocked back and you have to find a safe place to shoot from again. The other side of the combat is you picking up tools and you sort of hack and slash your way through. Unlike Dead Rising 2, there is no crafting in this game, so instead you pick up whatever you can find in the environment, and these range from household appliances, guns, garden tools, much more. Each weapon or item does various degrees of damage as well, and these weapons do break over time. So you will have to keep a large inventory to make sure you always are on the lookout for decent items. And besides all of this, I actually found the game quite easy to get into. It does have some platform mechanics as well, and those work sort of well. It's just not as smooth as how some titles play today, but I still found the game very playable, and I think it does. I think it has aged a lot better than most titles from this time. So Dead Rising was a fun surprise for me. It's a game I honestly went into with super low expectations, not even expecting to like or enjoy myself. And I was even thinking at one point that I was just going to drop the game, not even finish it. I wasn't even thinking I was going to do a reminiscing video on this game, but it surprised me in more ways than one. And it ended up being a game that I had a lot of fun with. So there's so much here, so much characters, so many unique gameplay mechanics, and it's all wrapped in this graphically impressive package for its time. If you're looking just for a modern way to play the game, it's already remastered on 8th generation systems, and it's probably bargain bin cheap at this point. But that's a great way to play a great game, and I'm just glad I was able to finally see why people love the Dead Rising franchise so much. And now that I am part of that group, I'm sort of scratching my head saying, well, what the hell happened to the later iterations? I'm gonna have to check those out and revisit those games again, and let you guys know what I think. But anyway, let me know if you are a huge Dead Rising fan or just a passerby, and until then, I thank you for watching this video. Have a good one.